In 1968, in a field in Montana, a construction crew accidentally dug into something unusual. It was small, fragile. At first, they didn't even know what it was. It turned out to be the skeleton of a baby, a human infant, buried over 13,000 years ago, right in the middle of the last ice age. For decades, scientists studied this baby. But in December 2024, they did something new. Something nobody had ever done before. They read its bones like a diary. And what those tiny bones said completely changed how we understand one of the most fascinating, most misunderstood groups of humans who ever lived. Let's go back. Around 13,000 years ago, North America was a completely different world. Giant ice sheets still covered Canada, sea levels were lower, and the continent was filled with animals that look like they belong in a fantasy novel. Woolly mammoths, giant ground sloths the size of cars, dire wolves, 30% bigger than today's, and giant beavers 6 feet long. Into this world came a group of skilled, fast-moving, incredibly resourceful hunters. Archaeologists call them the Clovis people. We don't know what they called themselves. That name comes from Clovis, New Mexico, where their tools were first discovered by a 19-year-old amateur archaeologist named Ridgely Whiteman in 1929. The Clovis culture appeared around 13,050 years ago and spread across the entire continent, from Canada to Panama, in what might have been just a few centuries. And here's where most people get it wrong. Everyone says mammoth hunters. That's it. The real story is so much more interesting. The defining invention of the Clovis people was the Clovis point, and calling it just a spear tip undersells it completely. These were precision instruments, chipped from jasper, chert, and obsidian, featuring a unique groove called a flute that let the point sit flush in a wooden shaft. More than 10,000 Clovis points have been found across 1,500 locations in North America, some as far south as Venezuela. And here's something remarkable. No Clovis points have ever been found in Siberia, where these people originally migrated from. This appears to be an American invention, possibly the first great American invention. Their tools were portable, lightweight, designed for people always on the move. And a 2024 discovery showed that Clovis people traded stone materials across 400 miles, from Kentucky all the way to Michigan, suggesting they had organized networks stretching across the continent. So what did Clovis people actually eat? Here's the truth most videos skip. Yes, mammoth was central, and especially in the West. But Clovis people were flexible. A 2024 study from the University of Michigan examined protein residues on tools found at the Belson site in southwest Michigan. A camp scientists now know Clovis people returned to every summer for at least 3 to 5 consecutive years. What did those tools show? Musk ox, caribou, hare, peccary, a wide variety of animals. The researchers specifically stated this was contrary to the popular idea that Clovis people were strictly big game hunters. They were opportunistic, intelligent, adaptable. But in the West, right, the Great Plains, Montana, Wyoming, something different emerges. And the proof came not from tools, or kill sites, or animal bones. It came from a baby. The baby found in Montana in 1968 is known as Anzac 1. He was a boy approximately 18 months old when he died, around 12,800 years ago. And as of today, he is the only confirmed Clovis burial ever found. Think about that. The Clovis culture spread across an entire continent, hundreds of thousands of people over centuries, and we have exactly one burial. He was not alone in that grave. Over 100 stone and bone artifacts were buried with him. Projectile points, bifaces, antler rods, all stained with red ochre. Archaeologists call this collection a hunting toolkit, directed primarily at megafauna. This was not a forgotten child. This was a child buried with ceremony, with intention, with love. The Anzac child was somebody's entire world. Now, here's the part that I find genuinely mind-blowing, because the big question in 2024 wasn't really about the baby. It was about the mother, and the baby's bones were the key. Anzac 1 was 18 months old. At that age, roughly two-thirds of a baby's nutrition comes from breast milk. The remaining third comes from soft, solid foods the family provides. When a mother eats food, the chemical signatures of that food pass into her body tissues. Those same signatures pass into her breast milk. And the baby, drinking that milk every day, builds its bones from it. Over time, the baby's bones become a chemical record of what the mother ate. The technique is called stable isotope analysis. Every food source in different animals, different plants, has a unique ratio of carbon and nitrogen isotopes, a chemical fingerprint. By measuring the isotopes in Anzac 1's bones and then mathematically adjusting for the effect of nursing, scientists were able to reverse engineer what his mother had been eating over at least a year before his death. Not a guess, not a theory, a chemical signal locked in bone for 13,000 years. The results were published in the journal Science Advances in December 2024, and here is what they said. Mammoth, approximately 40% of the mother's entire diet, the single largest contributor. Then elk and bison making up most of the remaining portion, an extinct type of camel. And small mammals and plants, almost nothing, negligible. The researchers then compared her dietary profile to other animals from the same time and region: American lions, bears, wolves. None of them matched. But one animal did, the scimitar cat, a now extinct predator that was a mammoth specialist. It ate mammoths almost exclusively, and the dietary fingerprint of this Clovis mother was closest to the scimitar cat. A human mother in the Ice Age, eating like a dedicated mammoth predator. That tells you everything about how central the mammoth was to Western Clovis life. Around 12,750 years ago, just a few centuries after Anzac I lived, the Clovis culture disappears from the archaeological record. And around the same time, the mammoths are gone. The giant sloths gone. The scimitar cat gone. Nearly all Ice Age megafauna of North America vanish in what feels, geologically, like the blink of an eye. Did the Clovis people hunt the mammoths to extinction? The overkill hypothesis says yes, but most archaeologists today, 63% in one survey, say it was likely a combination of human hunting and rapid climate change. The ice was retreating. The grasslands were changing. The animals had nowhere left to go. What we know for certain is that when the megafauna disappeared, the food system the Clovis culture was built around collapsed with them. But the Clovis people didn't disappear. They became everyone. The hundreds of indigenous nations that developed across North and South America over the following 12,000 years, from the Arctic to Tierra del Fuego, trace their genetic ancestry back to these people. The descendants of the Clovis culture are still here today, and one tiny baby, buried with ceremony in Montana 13,000 years ago, waited patiently underground, through ice ages and civilizations and centuries, until scientists in 2024 finally looked at his bones and heard what he had been trying to say all along: that his people ate mammoths, that his mother fed him well, that they were not primitive survivors. They were specialists, engineers, strategists, parents, the Clovis people. 13,000 years gone, never really forgotten. If this story fascinated you, subscribe. New Ancient History every week, and drop a comment below. What surprised you most?